my name is Terrence Walk. I'm the founder of Humanity Protocol, and I'll be moderating this panel today, the future of peak performance, virgin tech finance, and biology. I'm building a blockchain that's focused on identity. So it doesn't have too much to do with all these three things, and I think that's why Wahid asked me to moderate, so then we can all learn a little bit more. I think, I'll start off by having maybe each one of the panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Victor. I'm from a genomic background. I've been in the industry for over 2 decades. I've been excited in the blockchain industry because my whole idea is, with all the situations happening around the world, like 23andMe and the fear around all identity being stolen, it's time for us to get control of our own biological properties. And we need to make sure we protect it because there are insurance companies, governments, pharmaceutical companies, all trying to take advantage of our data, and this data should be protected.
My name is Jakob von Rosen. I come from a culture and heritage background, which has to deal with historical assets and their genealogical ranking. 10 years ago, began doing genealogy and began to burn up cases exponentially in Eastern Europe, which I am now laying claim to.
Good afternoon, everyone. But I'm a journalist and spent the best part of the last 20 years being a sports performance nutritionist, where it's been for a bit of one professional football, Olympic athletes, and then moved into one genetics 50 years ago. So basically, I'm a performance geneticist, for one for a word. But it was good to be awful, try and simplify that term node, because it can be quite confusing at the best of times.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about how tech finance and biology are converging to optimize not just performance, the longevity, access, agency. So I think I'll start off the first part of the conversation. It would be good for each one of you to help, frame what you guys think peak performance actually means.
Peak performance is very much tied to the air we breathe, the food we eat, the way we live our life, and we are predisposed to genetic inherited diseases, whether we like it or not. We need to understand where our challenges are, and thankfully we have the technology today to look at the type of food we eat and how it impacts our DNA. Also, what kind of medication we take and how that impacts us. So with this type of knowledge, it empowers us to make the right decisions moving forward.
For key quality, bits must wish you. And but from segments, yes, and so where you come from for no ones.
I guess performance means different things to different people, to be fair. With the industry that I've come from, and incorrectly, performance is, of course, to improve someone's output, and you can measure that in different ways. But the main area that it really needs to focus on to improve this fundamentally is understanding that individual's biology. And then from there, probably go into a bit more granular detail, understanding of someone's genetic and then epigenetic information. It's basically just trying to simplify and I guess merge a lot of complex data to make it relatable to that individual, whether it's improving their performance, improving their health, improving their longevity. We've all got different passion points that we're trying to improve. So I guess performance just means different things to different people.
I think one of the interesting things I would like to ask, given that, we're at TOKEN2049, it's very much crypto week here in Dubai. Just want to understand what you guys think is potentially, the role of blockchain and cryptocurrencies in what you guys are doing in terms of enabling peak performance.
That's a really good question because our background is not blockchain or tokenization or cryptocurrency, that matter. We come from a scientific background, but we recognize there's a profitability industry, and we believe that a blockchain auditability and the usability of the blockchain allows you to fix a real world problem in being able to monitor who has access to your data and whether you consent to provide the access. For example, let's say you don't have an Alzheimer TD and you wish to participate in an Alzheimer research experiment. Blockchain allows you to provide consent to smart contracts to pharmaceuticals, all research centers, all universities to do that research, but you're licensing, you're not giving away your data. And I think this type of technology and with the ability to incentivize through tokenization is a perfect intersection of healthcare, consent, and monotype.
Here was a very for. City on Isaac has a USS.
Not possible. Merely Felix. Then, but that Gopido is the earth is trust she wanted.
Earn boldly, not with the signer books. I don't read you about the softly I. Casa Kaibut would begin the shears, read this, good rate, you'd send. All these days are big in back on the right. And so it's unfair for Edwards to shut it down. Also, the pitch is unfair for Bonex to keep his styles and locks away. These are watching it up, he's up to visit the big Goka. Sure, be absolute kids skate you should be not lavish to your messing it plus out of pocket lot.
I guess it transparency, trust. Let's say, then just reiterate Victor's point, to be fair. Genetic data is extremely complex, but they're layered on top of that with the epigenetic data. I mean, from Uber's point of view, we look at over 1 million CPG sites which have put all chemical marks that sit about the genome, your DNA. It doesn't change the DNA, but it obviously affects the way it expresses itself and functions. So you can imagine the data that we collect on a daily basis on just an individual, and then hundreds of thousands of people on top of that. So allowing us to move everything onto the blockchain just provides us and the customer with a lot more safety, transparency, and trust in the brand as they're doing and allowing their genetic data genetically too.
And I think there's growing excitement around span, right? Living longer and performing better. So there's Brian Johnson and a lot of these things that are coming mainstream. What are some of the breakthroughs that you guys are seeing coming on the horizon from some of the stuff that you guys are doing with your companies?
For me, it's very clear, and their work is in cancer, right? And we are now able to sequence the cancer gene. We are able to identify whether the cancer is going to react to a specific treatment. And we are able now to customize vaccines, whether it's mRNA or any other type of immunotherapy, specific to the cancer that the individual is battling. I think it's a huge breakthrough, and it's only possible because our innovation, our intersection between precision medicine, molecular genetics, all the multi-omics, as we call them, whether it's transcriptome, DNA, or protein sciences, being able to gather all that information, digest it through AI, and be able to churn out a unique treatment for the individual. For me, it's hands down, hands up.
So, really, sound good. On the 60 year to place with the issue. Now, about radio shit on 56. How I met babe. When I'm moved up, but G bread beat sticks as it trees to get
in our sick visit. But during the McBaker for PRS to step 10 years.
it all got sure. Sushi. So, with it was it too. Look, I even but pin brass theater is like strawberry apples. To see how these you stand up, the she sees the bus, it's what in the break bit at two sit, yeah, and you can take it so fast.
Was a great little less crucial.
You referenced about Brian Johnson a second ago. Brian's actually the same age as me, so we're both 47 years young, and I'm actually ahead of it all. 2 years chronologically younger, and I don't spend $2 million a year for afternoon health. So there's various things that you could do with this stuff, and it costs you $2 million. Fundamentally important to what we do, and for everyone sat from the room, you price support the methylation cycle. It's a very complex biological function. I try and simplify as best I can. We're basically just trying to reuse homocysteine, quite a negative and amino acid in the body, to methionine back down again. Now, there's different genes involved in this process, there's different nutrients involved in this process. So we've tried to simplify it so everyone sat here doesn't have to spend $2, $3, and $4, $1 million, $500,000 a year reducing their biological age. There's certainly things that everyone can do that are very easy to do, that we can all implement into our life. But the main thing that we need to have is a barometer to measure that with. So epigenetics allows you to have a barometer to see where your life's fitting in some degree. You can obviously deviate off that and still do certain things you don't or shouldn't be doing. But it's life at the end of the day. How boring would it be to go to bed at 7 in the evening every night, eat mung beans all day, drink mineral water and not do anything in your other life? I think you're dead by default. So there's certain things that we all can do, but I think it's allowing each of us to make those choices. And again, fundamentally, knowing what genetic cards we view now, because we've all got different genetic cards, some good, some bad, but it's knowing how to play those cards in your benefit.
Yeah, and it's true. It's informed decision making, and I fully agree with that. I mean, having that information requires you to provide the sample, to have someone digest it in a way that's easy for you to digest, whether it's genetics, whether it's cancer genetics, or even a prenatal screening for having a new child. It's the information that's key, and being able to protect that information is why we're here today.
Thank for that. That's really interesting. So I think one of the key appeals for blockchain technology is obviously decentralization, but it's also about democratization, right? So I think one of the key things that we should think about is how do we ensure that these, as you were mentioning, how do we ensure that these systems work for everyone, right? And not just the privileged few. So it means more than tech. It means representation, data equity, global accessibility. Right. So, Victor, you've spent years deploying life sciences in underrepresented regions. James, how does data diversity impact your models? And how do you think about diversity when it comes to data and integrity?
I've spent around 7 or 8 years working with sequencing data in Africa. And COVID came in at a period of time where we were monitoring zoonotic diseases like Ebola, Lassa fever, and all these kind of scary diseases. At the time, it was extremely difficult to get sequencing information done because it was so difficult to get access to sequencers. It's very expensive. We didn't have the scientists to be able to interpret the data. But thankfully today, we are at a point where sequencing is so much cheaper. You have a lot more bioinformatics scientists in the market. We are service providers, so we are providing the genomic data to service providers. Should we provide the information to scientists within our industry at a very competitive price before you were stuck with who you had access to? For example, if it was one university or one research center, you couldn't sit and shop around and provide the service cheaper. We want to give access to these research centers and patients to be part of all types of clinical trials or provide information, but in a way that's decentralized and not localized to specific centers.
I moved it as this. Don't test so palpable. Wait, really about Singapore.
I is today. The fact that I did that in my helmet now for several years, they've shipped my head 4 times.
It is the news. They pick Ellenson like the driver.
You might have had you from access a trigger. It really come out from these artists. I bet you not.
The policy argue history where you would take a variable, but this is not the honest damn shit.
I think it's a diverse daisy. It's crucial that allows for a better quality of data. As much as we're very, very different, we're also extremely similar. So we've just actually, in the last couple of weeks, incorporated a new AI chatbot that I don't know what the name of it. They're calling it Little James in the ad, which is it's not gravely my ego, but it just allows you to go through thousands of data points that are individual to you. It's like having a practitioner in your pocket, really. So it can number crunch all of your data specific to you and relaying you the information that you need. Because I think in the day and age that we're drowning in information, that information is not best. Well, it's not great at the best of times. You tend to find conflicting results. So one week, have a glass of red wine because the resveratrol is very good for you. And then the next week, don't drink the glass of red wine because you'll die. So it's finding the right data for you and make it applicable. Because I might cope very well drinking 2 or 3 glasses, but I can't stand wine. If it had a beneficial effect for me, then why not? Likewise, you might not. So again, it's finding the data that's individual and personalized to you.
Which brings, I think, to another point, right? If you looking into the future, I think if we could at it, let's say in 10 years time, was one thing in this space that you think will take for granted in our daily lives?
But obviously, it's
Obvious safety I'm not saying side on plus here. He would to the braces myself. And the power of definitive these on fishy of a weapon street go pretty like that no you mean that you know
the box courses that everybody made such just down boots for Kako. Oh,
to my niece to be this year
the obviously is worth it the story the records. What? And see that, but all the country you will never set it up. And so it's a matter of key.
they nice and it was separately big to wrap processing in a coin.
Maybe it makes sense. Is consider compress up to years of available screen to people somewhere to book the at the top. If it has to see the book.
Seek big tips. You may need follow up in this way of finding results.
I think one of the challenges in healthcare is relating all the information, genetic data, epigenetic data, X-rays, like blood tests, all that kind of stuff. Right now we have very siloed images, so we get set information, and perhaps your doctor would not have all the information. And I think in the future we'll have a very easy way to find the information, analyze the information with the help of a doctor. I don't believe doctors will be replaced anytime soon. I think every industry expertly will stand beyond this, but they will have the information together, analyze, so they can make informed decision. And even if you travel to the next country or wherever you go and you need to see someone, that information is available to you. There's some kind of that.
You just felt what I was about to say. So I think we're at the point now when we're working on something, and I hate to talk about toilets, but it's a smart toilet. So you do your morning business, it interprets the data, it tells you how certain genes are expressing around, I don't know, vitamin B12, beta carotene, inflammation, sleep, and then you'll speak to your smart fridge or an order you're shopping for that day, and it will tell you you need to have X, Y, and Z to eat. You need to possibly go out for a 10 to 15 minute walk. The small sound bites and the interpretation of the data is key. And I think within the next couple of years, the interpretation of all these millions of data points, a drop of the hat, will be taken for granted. I've been
Somewhat the toilet on other sort of key data points that can be taken on a day-to-day basis.
all manual. I think you'll move from the standard blood test. A standard blood test just shows you your deficiencies. The tech we're working on showing your epigenetic inefficiencies. So just having vitamin D in your blood, that does nothing because it works at a genetic level. You need to see how the expression of the VDR receptor is expressing. Likewise with B12, having B12 in your blood it's a nice gauge, but you need to look at the genetic inefficiencies as much as the blood deficiencies. And I think there's some huge confusion about these two things.
You go to that means there are around the side of
which you it is preconsidered was a coming out. See, you have a faucet. It's again, it's
things. Just I didn't even hide what to fix and did it rate the suffer the pass.
So I think we don't have too much time left. So I think, on the topic of, we talked further about the future of performance, merging tech, finance, and biology. At these crossroads, they each give us some closing thoughts.
I think we're in a world where the intersection of AI and data, biological data, whether it's in the devices you wear or from analysis you've done. Then we're entering a world where it's a lot more affordable for the everyday person. It's decentralized. It's your data, you protect it, and you could share it if you wish to. And I think that's a very exciting direction we're heading.
Actually, is the U.S. has a public law called the Special Good.
there's an issue. It's that our food is this.
Public opinion is that the bad beats. Public opinion. Fire by trees. If they got in skull water, you is this easier than that. I just.
I think probably the most important thing I feel is how to celebrate. Probably the most important data you'll ever have is the distribute and the DVC by secure.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.